That familiar knot in your stomach forms when they text, call, or enter the room. Your gut feeling is your unconscious mind protecting you. Carl Jung called this intuition your personal unconscious communicating. And when someone asks you to ignore it, they're seeking your confusion. Even small moments, their subtle criticism, dismissive glances, or backhanded compliments trigger that internal alarm system for good reason. Let me show you the 5 psychological red flags Jung would warn you about. Subtle patterns most people miss until the emotional toll becomes unbearable. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Are you constantly apologizing even when you've done nothing wrong? That feeling of guilt isn't an accident. It's by design. Think about the last conversation where you walked away wondering if you were the problem. The way your stomach tightened as you tried to explain your feelings, only to have them dismissed. This pattern leaves you drained while the other person walks away unburdened. This is the first thing Jung would warn you about: becoming someone's emotional container. In toxic relationships, one person becomes responsible for managing both people's emotions. You carry their anger, insecurity, and chaos, while they remain free from consequences. Jung recognized this dangerous imbalance where one person must process what the other refuses to face. Consider this scenario. I feel hurt when you cancel our plans last minute. Their response? You're making me feel terrible right now. Why are you so needy? Suddenly, you're defending your reasonable feelings instead of addressing their behavior. The warning sign appears when someone makes you repeatedly explain yourself. You defend basic feelings or justify normal reactions to harmful behavior. Their manipulation creates a false reality where your natural responses become problems requiring justification. These individuals twist situations to make themselves the victim. You point out something hurtful they did, and suddenly they're crying about how you don't understand them. This emotional blackmail forces you to either comfort them or become the villain. The pattern becomes clear. They act inconsiderately, you express hurt, they become offended by your pain, and you end up apologizing for your reaction rather than receiving an apology. This reversal happens so subtly you might spend hours trying to explain why you deserve basic respect. Their objective isn't understanding but impunity. Freedom to act however they want without consequences. As their emotional container, you process the discomfort their actions should cause them. You feel their guilt and examine behavior they refuse to acknowledge. Watch for these manipulative phrases, red flags in their language. You're too sensitive. You don't understand what I'm going through. Why are you making such a big deal about this? I can't believe you're still upset about that. These statements are calculated to make you doubt your natural reactions. The problem isn't your sensitivity, it's their insensitivity. What makes this manipulation particularly dangerous is how it targets your perception. When someone consistently questions your emotional responses, you begin to wonder if you really are overreacting. This self-doubt creates dependency. You need their validation to trust your own feelings. This manipulation happens gradually. They begin with small invalidations that establish a pattern. By the time they're regularly making you defend your basic needs, you've already accepted that your feelings require justification. The truth Jung would emphasize: toxic people make you justify yourself because they need your confusion to maintain control. When you see situations clearly, their manipulation becomes obvious. They need you questioning yourself because a confident person can't be controlled. Liberation from this pattern starts with recognition. Notice your body's signals during these conversations. The tightness in your chest, the knot in your stomach. These physical responses are your mind warning you about psychological harm. Next, reclaim your psychological sovereignty. Stop explaining yourself to someone who never listens. Your feelings don't require approval to be valid. When you cease participating in these exhausting cycles, you create space for relationships where explanation isn't constantly required. People who respect your boundaries don't need you to justify having them. Remember Jung's insight: we instinctively know when something feels wrong. That discomfort isn't weakness. It's wisdom recognizing a harmful pattern. Trust it, and remove yourself from situations where your reality is constantly questioned. Think about the last time someone suggested you change something fundamental about yourself. Maybe they framed it as helpful advice. You'd look better if you changed your hair? Why do you always have to be so loud? That outfit doesn't really suit you. These comments seem innocent, but ask yourself, were these suggestions really for your benefit or for theirs? The second red flag Jung would warn you about appears when someone subtly encourages you to become a different version of yourself. It doesn't happen through direct demands. No one says, "I want you to change your entire personality." Instead, it happens through what the research calls little phrases, drops of acid, falling on your identity. Each suggestion seems small, but together, they form a pattern of control. This isn't about healthy growth. It's about erasing who you are and replacing it with who they want you to be. A person who cares about your growth wants you to become more authentically yourself. A person who wants to control you needs you to become more convenient for them. The difference is crucial but hard to spot in the moment. Watch how they respond when you act in ways that don't match their preferences. Do they withdraw affection? Do they become cold or distant? Do they make subtle comments that make you feel guilty? They're training you like you'd train a pet. Rewards when you behave as they want, punishment when you don't. These behavioral modifications directly connect to Jung's concept of the persona, our social mask. We all wear different masks in different social situations, at work, with friends, with family. These are normal adaptations. The danger comes when someone manipulates you into confusing this mask with your true self. Like an artist slowly repainting a portrait, they alter your identity one brushstroke at a time until the original is completely covered. The research points out that the more you adapt to these subtle pressures, you begin to modify your laugh, your tone of voice, and your opinions, slowly transforming into someone you barely recognize. One day, you realize your opinions sound like theirs. Your preferences match theirs. Even the way you speak has shifted to please them. Consider Sarah, who once loved bold colors and loud music. After 2 years with her partner, she found herself wearing only neutral tones and apologizing for her noise. When a friend asked why she'd changed so much, the question hit her like a physical blow. She couldn't remember when or why she'd surrendered these expressions of herself. This manipulation masquerades as care. I'm just trying to help you. I want what's best for you. Don't you want to improve yourself? These phrases create confusion. They make you question whether resisting change means you're stubborn or unwilling to grow. The reality is that healthy growth enhances your true self. It doesn't replace it. The manipulator's true goal, they want someone who folds like wet paper, someone who doesn't disturb, someone who obeys without it seeming like obedience. Your uniqueness becomes threatening rather than celebrated. When you find yourself thinking, "I don't even know who I am anymore," you're experiencing exactly what Jung warned about, losing connection to your authentic self. The path back starts with remembering who you were before this relationship began reshaping your identity. What did you enjoy? What made you laugh? What opinions did you hold? What boundaries did you maintain? Jung believed that becoming your true self is the most important work of your life. Anyone who interferes with that process isn't supporting your growth. They're undermining your essence. When someone consistently tries to mold you into a more digestible version of yourself, they're not seeing you. They're seeing what you can do for them. Remember, the right people nurture your individuation journey, creating space for your authentic self to flourish, rather than demanding you shrink to fit their expectations. Have you noticed important life decisions being postponed? That degree you wanted to pursue, the move to a new city, or that business idea you were excited about, all somehow on hold. Meanwhile, their goals always seem to take priority. Your dreams get labeled as selfish, while their plans are treated as essential. This pattern isn't accidental. It's a warning sign Jung would identify in toxic relationships. This red flag appears when someone makes your ambitions and aspirations seem like a threat to them or to your relationship. It starts subtly. They question why you would complicate things or suggest that your plans might harm what you've built together. The comments seem caring at first, but they hide a darker purpose, keeping you exactly where you are. As time passes, you notice a dangerous pattern where you continuously put your life on hold. That promotion you were perfect for? You declined it because they convinced you the extra hours would hurt your relationship. The photography course you were excited about keeps getting postponed because now isn't the right time. The entrepreneurial venture you mapped out remains dormant because they've convinced you it's too risky. Each reason seems valid in isolation, but the pattern becomes clear when you examine whose goals actually materialize. Jung understood that personal growth requires pursuing your own path. The process of individuation, becoming your whole, integrated self, depends on following your unique journey. When someone consistently blocks this path, they're blocking your development as a human being, interfering with the natural unfolding of who you are meant to become. Watch for the subtle comments that make you feel guilty about your goals. If you really loved me, you wouldn't want to move away. Why isn't what we have enough for you? These questions create internal conflict, forcing you to choose between your growth and their comfort, a choice no one should have to make in a healthy relationship. This form of control works through what Jung might call emotional kidnapping. They hold your future hostage while draining your present of meaning. The relationship becomes a cage that slowly tightens around you. At first, the bars are barely noticeable, but eventually, they restrict your every move. Your projects, ambitions, and identity gradually disappear as you live a life chosen for you rather than by you. What makes this red flag particularly dangerous is how it's often disguised as concern or protection. I'm worried you're taking on too much. I don't want to see you get hurt. These statements sound supportive but hide a fundamental lack of faith in your abilities and your right to determine your own path. Real support empowers. It doesn't limit. The controlling person wants you to remain predictable and accessible, which becomes impossible if you're growing and evolving. Your growth threatens their control because it introduces new variables they can't manage. As you develop new skills and meet new people, you become harder to manipulate. You gain resources and confidence that make leaving possible. Your goals aren't selfish. They're essential to becoming who you're meant to be. Jung believed that the purpose of life is to bring into consciousness what begins as unconscious potential. Your aspirations are signposts pointing toward your authentic self. Anyone who truly cares about you will support your journey, not hinder it. They'll celebrate your growth rather than feel threatened by it. If someone asks you to sacrifice your future for their present comfort, they're not offering love. They're requesting submission. Why does someone become anxious when you need time alone? What are they afraid you might discover in your moments of quiet reflection? Think about the last time you told someone you needed space. Their reaction reveals everything. Did they respect your boundaries or make you feel guilty for wanting to be alone? The fifth and most dangerous red flag appears when someone demands your constant attention and availability, invading your moments of peace. This warning sign disguises itself as affection while enabling absolute control. They text constantly, show up unannounced, expect immediate responses, and monitor your whereabouts and companions. Their control hides behind phrases like, "I just miss you," or "I was worried about you." Imagine settling into a peaceful Sunday morning with your journal and coffee. Just as you begin to reflect on your relationship doubts, your phone buzzes with an emergency. They're upset about something trivial and need your immediate emotional support. This pattern repeats whenever you create distance. The timing is deliberate. They create chaos precisely when you're reconnecting with yourself. What's happening isn't love, it's fear. Jung would recognize this behavior immediately. Their seeming devotion masks anxiety about what happens when you're alone with your thoughts. They understand, perhaps unconsciously, that silence reveals what noise conceals. The manipulation becomes obvious when you establish boundaries. They respond with guilt-inducing statements. "You're abandoning me," or "Don't you care about how I feel?" These aren't innocent reactions, but calculated phrases making you question your right to solitude. The implied message: your need for space is selfish, while their need for constant connection is normal. According to Jung, silence and solitude are essential for psychological integration. They create the necessary conditions for hearing our inner voice clearly. When constantly surrounded by someone else's needs and emotions, you lose connection with your own. Your thoughts become reactions rather than reflections. Your emotions respond to external triggers rather than internal wisdom. You become their mirror rather than your own window. This explains their fear of your quiet moments. In silence, your inner compass, what Jung considered our most reliable guidance system, reorients itself. You notice manipulation patterns, feel suppressed emotions, and recognize intuitive warnings. This awakening threatens their control, which depends on your disconnection from yourself. Their strategy keeps you so occupied with their needs that you never consider your own. The noise they generate drowns out your doubts. When constantly managing their emotions and demands, you lack mental space to question the relationship. The exhaustion serves their purpose. Tired people don't leave, confused people don't set boundaries, overwhelmed people don't trust themselves. Jung would want you to understand, when someone demands constant attention, they fear you reconnecting with yourself. They know solitude leads to clarity, and clarity leads to change. Your inner sanctuary of quiet reflection threatens the walls of control they've built around you. Your need for solitude isn't selfish. It's necessary for psychological well-being and maintaining connection to your authentic self.